having to be the pianist from the day one of rehearsals all the way through to the dress rehearsal.
And your role is to essentially provide the orchestral music in a pianistic form.
The repetiteur has to be able to play orchestrally and demonstrate what the orchestral sounds are as they're playing in the rehearsals.
So we're involved in creating the putting together of the piece as a whole. So obviously we have to do the private work ourselves to learn the piece, and that involves not just playing it, but listening to it, learning the text, depending on what language it's in. There's all those sort of preparation aspects. But then technically speaking, organisationally speaking, we rock up on the first day. It depends if you're in a company where you coach singers beforehand, that's quite common as well, but in a situation like this, we don't. So we meet the conductor and all the other singers on day one, and we essentially play through the piece and work through the piece and discuss it musically, and then ultimately we are there as the orchestra for the next sometimes 4 weeks, sometimes a week, depending on where you're working. Until the orchestra steps in, and then we are effectively the ears for the conductor when he or she works with the orchestra, which is another aspect of the job that I certainly didn't know existed really when I first started. I feel pretty lucky to be able to do a job that allows me to do what I love and still be challenged by other people's ideas and by the complexity of the music. Learning music, vast amounts of music, is a big challenge.
Sometimes you might have a singer absent, and then it can send you a bit of a curveball because you're not perhaps sort of ready to sing in that part, but you have to sing that part in.
Yeah, the challenges are sort of part of the joy of it as well, I think, because what we do is essentially difficult and challenging, but it's rewarding at the same time.
I know there's all music things, but do you bet? Yes.
I particularly like how we start from a good shape in the first week of music rehearsals. We normally have about a week's of rehearsals, and then music rehearsals with just the conductor and the singers, and then I watch it grow and I nurture the singers, and so we actually make a show by the dress rehearsal.
I love the collaborative aspect of it, which again is ever changing, obviously, depending on who you're working with. I love the people you meet. I love the people you meet who you otherwise would never meet in life, and I certainly never thought I'd meet. I love the going from a small thing, one person in a room with a piano, to going to a massive thing. Sometimes you end up working in a situation with an orchestra, an enormous orchestra, and then sometimes you have offstage banders, and then you've got a chorus offstage, and so it goes from being this really tiny little thing, and it just blossoms into an enormous event, and I love that process, and I love being part of that process.
I actually trained originally as a piano accompanist. I really, really loved the dramatic side of opera, rather than just doing songs with piano and playing just chamber music. I loved the much more sort of dramatic forum. So, and then I went and did British Youth Opera, and then I went into do an opera course at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama.
As I grew up, I didn't really know the job of a rep at all, actually. Where I studied in Sydney, we didn't have any courses at the time like you do here in London, repetiteur courses, and my world was just a little bit, it was vocal, yes, but chamber music and instrumental. And then singers started coming along to lessons, and they brought arias, and that was a novelty for me. But once I started to really warm to that, and then I got this job as assistant chorus master, and then I saw, when I'd be in the rehearsal room, I could see reps, repetiteurs doing this job, like playing an entire opera, and I thought, wow, I want to do that. That looks really exciting. And I think the part of the chorus master job I didn't find satisfying was that you'd learn the choruses and that was it. So I'd say to myself, yes, I know Rigoletto, but actually I knew, well, that's a bad example because there's lots of chorus in Rigoletto, but you just know small chunks of operas, and I love the idea of knowing the whole thing and being involved in the process from the beginning to the end. And I think that's one of my favourite parts of the job, is that you are involved in the process sometimes, from the very beginning, from, say, a young artist picking up a piece of music for the first time. Right through the rehearsal process, you watch people improve, you watch people change, you get to know the ins and outs of the pieces and the people, and then you get to the end of the process, and sometimes you're still part of it, sometimes you play in the orchestra, which is great as well. I love that too. So there are so many and varied aspects of it. It's almost never boring, I would say.